Hello and welcome to Online Yoga and Wellness. I'm Kate Astle. Today is our third session together, and we're going to be focusing on our emotions today. So, identifying how we're feeling and taking a moment to stop and recognize that. So, quite often we get caught up in the day to day and we don't stop and check in with ourselves. This can lead to holding tension in the body. So quite often when you're stressed or feeling anxious and overwhelmed, you'll start to get tension in the neck and in the shoulders, or you might get really tight hips. So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be checking in with ourselves, especially in this current climate. It is important, more so now than ever, to check in with how we're feeling. So what we're going to do today is we are going to start with our mindfulness practice. We are going to tap back into the moment prior to starting our asanas today. So what I'll get you to do is sit on the mat with your legs crossed, making sure to remove socks and shoes. And we're just going to start to get comfortable. So you can sit anyway with your legs crossed. If you need to, you can place a pillow underneath the hips if they're a bit tight and it's uncomfortable to sit on the floor. So remembering today to practice yoga mindfully, and that means to listen to your body. So if we go into a pose that doesn't feel right, just gently relieving yourself of that and joining back in when you can. So resting the hands on the knees, shoulder blades down the back. You can gently roll the shoulders a couple of times. You can alternate which shoulder you roll. And then we'll just go back in the opposite direction. And just shrugging the shoulders a couple of times, letting them rest down the back. Lifting up through the chest, imagining a piece of string from the tailbone all the way through to the crown of the head. Taking in 3 deep breaths, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Allowing your breath to return to normal here. You can keep the eyes closed. We're going to start to tap into our senses. If the mind is off with a thought, gently drawing it back and starting to observe what you can hear. Noticing the sounds in the 4 walls that surround you. Starting to recognize what you can smell and what you can taste. Noticing any shadows or any light flickering across the eyes. And then tapping into what you can feel. Starting to observe the temperature of the air that's around you. The points of contact the body's making with the mat. Starting to observe your clothing against your skin. Noticing if it's tight or if it's loose. And then we're going to take a second to tap into the body. Tapping into what we can feel in our muscles and our joints. Starting to notice if the hips, shoulders, knees, ankles, anywhere is tight, or if you can feel any sensations. And then starting to notice your breath, noticing the chest as it rises and falls, feeling the chest and the belly make space for the air as you breathe in, and then observing the weight of the chest as you exhale. Sitting with your breath for a moment. Allowing yourself a mindful minute, just sitting, just observing. You might notice the rhythm of your breath. If you can feel your heart beating in your chest. And now we're going to ask ourselves, how do we feel today? Starting to become aware and recognize our emotions. As humans, we might feel more than one thing at one time. So, not disregarding anything that you're feeling right now. You might be feeling happy or sad, confused or frustrated. You might feel anxious. You might feel all of these things. Just checking in and seeing how you're feeling today. Placing a hand on your chest and a hand on your belly. In your head stating, I am feeling, and then finishing the sentence with what you've identified today. Acknowledging how you're feeling. Knowing that it's okay to feel any way that you're feeling right now. There's no right or wrong answer. Shedding any judgment that you're showing yourself. Letting go of the idea in your mind that you need to feel a certain way. And just taking a moment to acknowledge how you actually feel. I am feeling. I am okay to feel. Again, finishing the sentence. I am safe. I am loved. I am not judged. And I am okay to feel this way. Placing the hands back down onto your knees. Taking in another 3 breaths. As you inhale, raise the shoulders up to the ears, and as you exhale, allow them to drop. Inhaling them up, allowing them to drop. One more time. Sometimes just even acknowledging how we feel can take the weight off our shoulders. We're just going to gently start to circle, alternating the shoulders. Big movements. Pulling the shoulders up to the ears. You might like to gently turn the head from side to side, moving with the shoulders. And then we're going to go back in the opposite direction. And then we're going to go back in the opposite direction. And back to center. Inhaling the hands up to the ceiling, interlacing the fingers, joining them together, dropping the chin to the chest, placing the hands on the back of the head, lengthening through the spine, but allowing the elbows to drop down towards the mat. Taking in a breath here, breathing into the back of the neck. Two more breaths here. Gently releasing the fingertips, using them on the forehead to help straighten through the neck. Inhaling the hands out nice and wide, palms facing the ceiling. We're going to take the right hand across the body, taking the left up underneath to secure it in place. Shoulder blades down the back, continue lengthening through the spine. Breathing into the right shoulder. Inhaling the hands out wide. Exhale, crossing the left arm across the body, securing it in place with the right. Breathing into the left shoulder. Opening up through the chest to breathe in. Giving yourself a pat on the back with the right fingertips. Taking the left hand onto the right elbow. Walking a hand down the back, opening up through the chest. Continue breathing, connecting to the body, keeping your mind in the moment. If you'd like to progress to the advanced pose, you can release the left hand, taking it around behind the back, reaching the fingertips towards each other. Still lifting up through the chest. And then releasing, opening up through the arms, breathing in. Giving yourself a pat on the back with the left hand. Bending through the right fingertips on the left elbow, walking the fingertips down the back. Breathing into the left arm. Releasing the elbow, taking the right fingertips behind the back, walking the hands towards one another. Just taking a moment to acknowledge that whatever this pose looks like for you, that is okay. Our bodies are all different, they move differently. What's important is that we connect the mind to the body and to the breath. Releasing the fingertips, opening the hands out nice and wide. Inhaling them up to the ceiling, interlacing the fingers, turning the palms away. Rolling the shoulders up to the ears and down the back. Dropping the hands to the left, squeezing into the left side. Making sure that we don't collapse through the chest. We want to be sitting up nice and tall. You can look up underneath the right elbow towards the ceiling to make sure that we're opening through the chest. And then inhaling up to center. Dropping the hands to the right, squeezing into the right side, looking up underneath the left elbow. And then inhaling back to center, Releasing the fingertips, allowing them to rest down by your sides. We're going to slowly straighten through the legs, bending through the ankles, through the knees, walking the feet. We're going to gently massage the thighs, the hamstrings, the calves, down to the ankles, feeling the blood as it starts to circulate through the legs, from the hips all the way down. And then we're going to straighten through both legs, drawing our toes back towards us, inhaling the hands up to the ceiling, and exhale, folding forward, reaching for the toes. If you can't reach the toes, just placing your hands on your ankles or on your shins. Taking in a few deep breaths, folding from the hips, folding a little deeper. Taking 2 more breaths here. Inhaling the hands up to the ceiling and down by your sides. Stepping the feet to the outer edges of the mat. Inhaling the hands up to the ceiling and exhale, folding forward, reaching for the toes once again. Holding the shins or the ankles if you can't reach the toes. Taking in a few deep breaths, folding from the hips. Allowing the arms to hang from the shoulders. Taking in a deep breath, breathing into the upper back. And then inhaling the hands up to the ceiling and allowing them to rest down by your sides. This time, we're going to separate the legs as far as you can, taking them out nice and wide, drawing the toes back towards you. Inhaling the hands up to the ceiling, and we're going to fold forward, but we're going to reach the hands towards the toes. So if you can't reach the toes here, just holding the shins again, taking in a few deep breaths as the body folds forward. Instead of feeling the stretch through the hamstrings this time, you may start to feel it through the abductors on the insides of the legs. Taking in a breath. Once again, checking in, noting that however this pose looks for you is okay. If you're sitting upright, holding the knees, leaning forward, if that's as far as you can go, that is okay. Taking a moment to accept where the pose is for you today. Taking a minute to show gratitude to our bodies. Gratitude for movement. Gratitude for time for the mat today. Taking the right hand to the left foot, extending, reaching. As you inhale, noticing the slight stretch through the right side of the lower back. Taking the right hand back to the right foot, left hand to the right foot. Breathing into the left side. And then walking the hands out in front. You might like to drop the elbows down towards the mat, deepening the stretch through the insides of the legs. And then we're going to slowly walk the hands back towards the upper body, bending through the knees and through the ankles, drawing the legs back together. You might like to gently massage the hamstrings. And then we're going to tuck the feet to one side and come over onto our hands and our knees. So finding our foundational pose, tabletop. checking that the wrists are under the shoulders, the knees are underneath the hips. Gently shifting the weight from left to right as you feel into the pose, checking that the hands are shoulder width and that the knees are hip width apart. Straight, neutral spine looking down towards the hands. We're going to move through 8 cat-cow. So moving the body with the breath. We're going to drop the belly button down to the mat, lifting up through the crown of the head, arching through the back into cow. As we exhale, drawing the belly button to the spine, tucking the tailbone, dropping the head into cat. Breathing in, dropping the belly. You can gently move side to side or front to back as you exhale. And now start to follow your own breath. Lengthening the breath, making them nice and deep, sending the air all the way to the belly. And then drawing the belly button to the spine, pushing the air out of the lungs as you exhale into cat. Breathing in and breathing out. Following your own breath here. One more breath. And then coming back to a neutral spine. Dropping down onto the elbows. We're going to gently rotate the wrists. Nice big circles. Gently massaging the palms. Rubbing the big muscle beneath the thumb. Observing any tension in our hands. And then you have the option to either walk the hands onto the mat or you can join the hands together. Here we're going to tuck the toes and we're going to lift the hips up to the ceiling into dolphin. So with this pose, it's like downward dog, but on our elbows. So here we're going to make sure that our head is being pushed between our arms, that we're sinking down into the heels. If you need to here, you can keep the knees bent if the hamstrings are super tight. But we're wanting to make sure that the shoulders are extending and that our head is being pushed between them. Dropping the heels, stretching through the calves. We're going to slowly walk the feet backwards as we shift our shoulders back on top of our elbows into a plank. Holding here. And then we're going to slowly walk the feet back in, lifting the hips up to the ceiling into dolphin. One more time, walking the feet out, dropping the hips, shoulders over elbows. And then walking the feet back in, lifting through the hips. Slowly dropping the knees back down to the mat. Pressing up onto the palms into tabletop. Gently walking the hands back towards the knees, sitting onto the heels. Here we're going to gently roll the shoulders. You can let the arms hang down by your sides. Inhale them up to the ears and allow them to drop. Inhaling them up to the ears and allowing them to drop. Taking a breath and then walking the hands back out in front, finding tabletop. From here, we're going to tuck the toes, lift the hips up to the ceiling into downward dog. sinking down into the heels. Walking the feet out to the left and right edges of the mat. If you need to, bending through the knees, but we're going to be in a wide-legged stance for downward dog. We're going to take the right hand and tap the left ankle and take the right hand back down onto the mat. Then the left hand to the right ankle and back to the mat. Tapping alternate angles for 10 counts. Nice and controlled. And 10. Coming back to downward dog. Slowly walking the hands back towards the feet into a forward fold. So in a forward fold, we let the upper body hang from the hips, crown of the head dropping down towards the mat. Bending through the knees slightly, we're going to inhale, halfway lift, placing the hands on the shins, straight spine. Exhale, forward fold. Bending through the knees, inhaling the hands up to the ceiling. And then folding forward, reaching the hands back down to the mat. Walking the hands back out to downward dog. Keeping the feet nice and wide, sinking back down into the heels. We're going to alternately tap the ankles for a count of 10 again. Taking the right hand to the left ankle and switching. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, one more, 10. Slowly walking the hands back towards the feet into a forward fold. We're going to inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Bending through the knees, inhaling the hands up to the ceiling. And then exhale, folding forward. Walking the hands out in front to downward dog. From here, bending through the knees, returning them back to the mat and finding tabletop. Checking in with the body, checking in that the shoulders are above the wrists and the hips are above the knees. Here we're going to sit back onto the heels, extending the arms out in front, placing the forehead down on the mat into child's pose. Taking a breath here and allowing the shoulders to hang from the upper body. Surrendering to the weight of the arms. Checking in again to see how you're feeling. If your energy is starting to come up, if you're starting to feel at home in your body, if your self-awareness is increasing, and then inhaling back up to tabletop, gently rolling the shoulders. From here, we're going to sit the hips back on the heels, circle the hips to the left, pressing forward to the right, and then back over the heels. Big circles, and then back in the opposite direction. And then back to center. From here, we're going to tuck the toes, lift the hips up to the ceiling into downward dog. Taking the right foot into the air Bending through the right knee, stepping the right foot to the right hand. Stepping the left foot to the left hand. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Bending through the knees, inhaling the hands up and over the head. Exhale, folding forward. Stepping the right foot back, stepping the left foot back into downward dog. Taking the left foot into the air. Bending through the left knee, stepping the left foot to the left hand. Stepping the right foot to the right hand. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Bending through the knees, inhaling the hands up and over the head, slightly back. And exhale, folding forward. Stepping the left foot back, stepping the right foot back into downward dog. Slowly lowering the knees back down to the mat, finding tabletop. Turning to the long angle of the mat, we're going to separate the knees out nice and wide, and we're going to turn the feet away from the center. So we're going to try and draw the toes back up towards the shin. Continue slowly separating the knees and then coming down onto the elbows. Keeping the shoulder blades down the back and taking in a breath here, stretching through the abductors or the insides of the legs. This is called frog pose. You might like to extend out a little bit further as you feel the body start to stretch. And then slowly walking the hands back towards the body and bringing the knees back in underneath. Sitting down onto the mat, walking the feet out in front. Taking the hands out as we slowly uncurl the spine, laying back onto the mat. We're going to extend our fingertips up overhead and straighten through our legs. Feeling a straight line running through the body. Draw the belly button to the spine, tuck the shoulder blades down the back. Taking the hands back down by your sides, bending through the knees, walking the feet onto the mat. Walking them in nice and close to the sit bones. Tuck the shoulder blades down the back. On the next in-breath, we're going to inhale. On the next in-breath, we're going to step into the heels, lift the hips up to the ceiling and take the hands up and over the head. Exhale, lowering the hands back down by your sides. Inhale, lift the hips. Exhale, lowering back down. 3 more. Again, feeling the flow of the breath with the body. And then resting, drawing the knees into the chest, placing the hands on the knees and gently circling the knees, releasing through the lower back and back in the opposite direction. Releasing the knees, placing the feet back down onto the mat. We're going to gently walk the feet out to the left and right edges of the mat. And we're going to follow the breath here. And as we do, we're going to drop the knees to the left and then inhale them over to the right. Exhale, taking them back to the left. Inhale to the right. Exhale left. Inhale right. Exhale left. Inhaling right. 3 more of these. Following your breath. Observing your body. Keeping your awareness on your mat. Not being distracted by anything external. And then bringing the knees back up to center. If the lower back is tight, keeping the knees bent, gently allowing the knees to roll into center. Otherwise, you can walk the feet out until they're straight on the mat. Placing the arms down by your sides. Taking in 3 deep breaths here. Taking a moment here to check back in with your senses. Observing if the mind is here with you on the mat or if it's gone off with a thought. Taking this opportunity again to connect with the body, connect with the mind. Asking how you feel today after the practice. Are you still feeling anxious or worried, fearful or angry? Or are you starting to feel calm and relaxed? Are you starting to feel more in control of your movements and what you can change? Knowing that you have the ability to change your mindset. The power is yours. It is your strength. Letting go of the judgment around how you feel. Moving to a place where we can accept it, where we can move past it. Having the ability to process how we feel. Taking in 3 more breaths here. Allowing any of the emotion that you're holding on to be released on the out breath. And then gently bending through the knees, walking the feet onto the mat. Gently moving them from left to right. Circling the wrists, and turning the head from side to side. And then coming back to center, rolling onto your side, taking a moment for the body to settle here, and then using your hands to help you come up to a seated position. Folding the legs in front. You can keep the eyes closed here if you would like to, as we just take a moment to check back in with the body. Taking the hands and placing them over the heart center. Just taking a moment here to bring to mind 3 things that you are grateful for today. They don't have to be complex things. They can be as simple as seeing the sun. It could be seeing a friend. It could be making time for yourself for practice today. It could be making time for yoga today. Just allowing yourself to soak up the gratitude. So often things go past that we don't show gratitude for. And thank you for joining me on the mat today. This is something that I am grateful for. I love being able to share with you the practice and hope that you are able to take away some things from today and transition them across into your life. Even just as simple as taking a few breaths and asking yourself how you're feeling. This can be something that you can incorporate into your morning when you start to feel overwhelmed. Instead of just allowing the anxiety to creep up, really stemming down to why are you feeling this way and what is it that you're feeling? Is it fear? Is it frustration? Is it confusion? Just by simply acknowledging the feeling, it can instantly make you feel better. So I think it's important to understand how the mind works and how it is you're feeling to be able to function day to day. So that is a simple one that you can incorporate into your day when you're starting to feel overwhelmed. I've enjoyed today's practice and I look forward to seeing you on the mat again soon. Bye.